recording, so let's kick off. Welcome, everybody. This is a Sustainable Business Network Lunch and Learn session. We at Zero Carbon Guildford run the Sustainable Business Network as one of our projects, and as part of that, put on these events every so often to kind of help people engage with particularly important issues for businesses who are concerned about sustainability. So today we're really excited to have Ali Fisher with us to run what I think is a very important topic for us all to consider, which is diversity, equity and inclusion. And Ali is going to talk us through why that matters and how businesses can engage with it. So I'm going to hand over to Ali.
Amazing. Thank you, Bronwyn. Hello, everyone. I nearly said good morning, but it's now good afternoon, isn't it? And I'm terribly sorry. You've got a lunch and learn with no lunch unless you've done BYO and brought your own. Kath looks like she has. Well done. Right, let's get stuck in. I can't see the chat, but Bronwyn is going to kindly keep an eye on it for me. If you'd like to introduce yourself to everyone else, that would be marvellous. Just maybe pop in your name and the organisation you've come from or anything else you'd like to share. It's just nice to know who else is in the room. Donald Trump is going to get a mention today. I'm sorry, it upsets me, but I he's the elephant in the room. So I just put him out there, pulling some fairly ridiculous faces. But I'm going to use his memes as a, can you tell me how you're feeling coming into this webinar today? So if you pop a number into the chat once you've done your name and your organisation, Bronwyn's going to give me a feel of what numbers we're feeling today. Are you thoughtful, like you need to phone a friend? Confident, pretty happy, positive, not sure, like your head might explode? Bit windswept, his toupee's almost left his head there. Pretty relaxed, tired, or ready to get down and make good stuff happen. Bronwyn, what's the mood in the room?
So far, people are still putting their names in. That's it. A couple of 12s. That's good.
Oh, I like that.
Let's see any more coming through. A 6, another 6, another 12. 6s and 12s are positive. Another 12.
Oh, I'm liking this team on this call. Marvellous. Well, if you're still typing, go for it. But I'm loving that you're coming today with positivity and ready to get down to make good stuff happen. So, who am I? A quick bit of background. I know a few people on the call. I spent 17 years as a marketer in Unilever. That was my long background. In 2017, I established Plans with Purpose, which is my business, and it works in sustainability and diversity. I studied DEI or EDI or whatever acronym you like to use at Cambridge Judge Business School. So that's where some of my knowledge comes from. Last year, I founded a collective called Jedi Matters, to throw another acronym at you. And that's 7 SMEs who've come together to work on this agenda together because it's hard for smaller businesses. So we built a collective. I'm also a volunteer at the LEAD Network, which is Leading Executives Advancing Diversity, which focuses on gender equity. If you know the local charity Challenges, Disability Challenges, I'm a member of their business club. They do amazing things. I'm part of Goal 17. I mentor young care leavers, and that's a really rewarding thing to do. And in case you didn't like any of my credentials, this is my English Springer Spaniel, Florrie. If you're a cat person, I'm really sorry, then I've definitely lost you. So that's a bit of my background and why I'm here today. 3 things we were going to cover. The whys of DEI, why does it matter? And then a whistle-stop tour is like, if I've got an hour with you, what's helpful to cover? So we're going to talk about 3 fundamentals of DEI and 3 tools that might help you take action. But I did promise that it would be interactive. So you have my permission to grab your phones. If you scan this QR code, it should take you to Slido. I'll give you a second to do that. If the QR code doesn't work for you, you can give it a go just on their website. Okay, I'm going to hope you're in. It stays on the screen. So if you haven't got it yet, it's in that left-hand corner. Would you kindly tell me, where are you on your equity, diversity and inclusion journey? Are you at the sort of unhappy, droopy face, haven't started yet? Oh, you're scoring fast. You're a DEI pro. Nice. So we've got some people. 5 votes are in. Bronwyn, how many are we on the call, do you think? I can't see everyone on my screen. 9 votes, 10 votes?
14 participants, but that includes you. So.
Okay, so 13 scores. Thank you. So we've got 11 in. Oh, we're middle of the road largely, which is great. So we're averaging a 3.2. Brilliant. Thank you for sharing. Next question. When you think about equity, diversity and inclusion, what words spring to mind? Keep it clean, people. Keep it clean. And it should let you, if you've got multiple words, it should let you put multiple entries. Equal opportunity, lovely. Fair. Fairness, representative. Lots of people going for fairness, equal, important, level playing field. So the E of equity, diversity, and inclusion really matters to people. A range of talent and skills, lovely. Understanding, representation, some more the diversity piece. Everyone matters, everyone's included. Oh, load of people just press go at the same time. Meaningful participation, not performative. Lovely. Everyone matters. Different viewpoints. Again, that diversity. Wider range of experience. And nice. Some of what seems to spring to mind for people, not just the equity piece, but also the business lens on it. That's fabulous. Thank you for sharing. Oh, empowered has just come in as a late runner. Is there anything you're worrying about in this space? What are your worries? Trump. Yeah, thank you. Number 1, Tracy smiling. I'm there. Whoever said that, I'm right with you. Guessing it wrong, absolutely. So I did a survey of 50 SMEs in 2023, and guessing it wrong was the number 2 voted barrier to SMEs making progress in DEI. Not being tokenistic. Yeah, really important, doing things properly. Performance over progress. Diluting. Commercialization, slow progress, doing nothing, large corporations going back on commitments. We're going to touch on that today. Business over people. One more still coming in. There's real variety of things. Trump's gone big on this word cloud. There's a lot of us worrying about Trump. Thank you for keeping it clean, though, in the names you've called him. Capitalism outreaching itself. No cake. Is that because I didn't bring lunch? I'm terribly sorry.
No, that's because I haven't got any cake.
Oh, sorry, Andy. Next time. Okay, so there's quite a lot. There's a real variety. My belief is by opening this up, by showing up and having meetings like this together, we can make the best progress and alleviate some of those concerns by action, but also just by sharing the load. It's a heavy, difficult space. Final question for you for now. What would you most like to talk about? So I've got these 4 things on the agenda, but it's quite a busy agenda. So give me a steer, rank these, and I will talk super speedy in some spaces and a bit slower in others. So do you want to talk about the context? There's a bit of Trump in there. Why EDI matters? Or do you want to go, yeah, we've got that, Ali, don't worry about it. Let's move on. Or some of the facts. So EDI tools for action. Fundamentals. All right, so we've got eight votes. EDI tools for action is coming in. One person's going to try and change the vote, just as I think I've called it. Oh, so some EDI tools for action, then the fundamentals, then the current context, and the why of EDI. So, of course, that is the reverse of the agenda I've done for today. So I will try and gallop through some of the front stuff to make sure we get to the tools for action and the fundamentals. But thank you, because what that says to me is you're a group who go, exactly what you put on the trump cards, let's get down and do some good stuff. So, bit of context, but I'll speed through it. We are in a bit of an anti-DEI moment, as uncomfortable as it certainly makes me feel, and I think some of you. So Trump did make some big moves with his executive order in January, and that is filtering across because, you know, we operate globally. That is touching Europe. So actually this headline on the right was a couple of days ago. So Trump administration reportedly warns European companies to comply with anti-DEI orders. So there are ramifications of what he is leading for that are filtering through to us. But the good news, people are pushing back. So this headline on the left is there's a lot of legal wrangling, legal battles going on in the US to try and block his anti-DEI move. So I'm keeping massive fingers crossed on all that he can't apply everything he would like to. And we've also got, you know, this headline on Forbes from, what date are we on today? Yesterday, talking about European countries pushing back and saying, no, you can't just railroad this through. So yes, he's made big announcements and big moves, but there are pushbacks, which is really good. We're standing up. In the business world, some of what we think is happening is a bit of repositioning or rebranding of DEI. So people are having to tread very carefully because of the legalities of what Trump is doing, but they're working hard to keep going. So Google is an interesting example. It got a headline over the last couple of weeks where it said Google is scrapping DEI in February. But actually, if you listen to things like the CEO talking at their all hands meeting, he says, we believe in building a representative workforce. We're a global company. We have users around the world, and we think the best way to serve them well is by having a workforce that represents that diversity, and we'll continue to do that. So basically saying we can't do our business without DEI, so we will keep going. Although he's also saying we've got to comply to the laws. So they'll do what they can and work within constraints. They also changed their chief diversity officer in February, became a VP of Google engagement. Again, the headline looks really scary. The CDO has gone. But actually, so much of DEI is about the engagement of your workforce. So that person can still do most of their job within that role. So beware scary headlines. DEI can't go away. It is here to stay, and businesses acknowledge that. I take you on a little journey over the decades. So this was a piece of homework I did for today, partly to assure myself, see if it works for you. So DEI over the decades. We've had moments of progress. Most of these are in the UK, genuine progress, lots of legislation, and that has been going on for decades. We have had moments of regression. Quite a lot come from the US and then filter over to the UK, but often we have moments of regression that are then matched by moments of movement. So things go wrong, but we as society compensate and try and fix things. So come on the historic journey with me. See, all those green buckets are UK progress. So let's go back to the 1960s with the Race Relations Act, the decriminalisation of homosexuality, equal pay, 1999 Disability Rights Commission, 2017 gender pay gap reporting, 2017 race disparity audit. We've kept going over the decades. So what Trump is leading for right now, he will not undo what has been decades and decades of progress. What I saw as a trend was often when we've had moments of regression. So take the tragic murder of Trayvon Martin in the US, or the murder of George Floyd, or the horrendous stuff around sexual harassment with Harvey Weinstein. That has often then been matched by moments of movement. So we had Black Lives Matters too. We had the Me Too movement. My question is, with what's gone on in the US, we had a 2023 Supreme Court affirmative action ruling. So when stuff started to be unpicked again, and then the Trump executive orders, What's our moment of movement going to be against that? And I think it's building. So be warned, I'm an optimist, but I think we will have a movement against this. And businesses and organisations are part of that. And they're not generally rolling over and letting Trump tickle their tummy. So I am feeling optimistic. One question I think we can throw back if people challenge this space is, well, what if we didn't do DEI? So often we're asked to prove, why do we need DEI? Well, what if we didn't do it? What if we had no diversity? We'd all look the same. We'd all behave the same. It would be an awful world and society to be in. What if we had no equity? What if everything was unfair and unjust? It's not a space that I want to be or something I want to consider. And what if we had no inclusion? People weren't welcome. Is that what we're saying if we're challenging DEI? That's not a world that I want to be in or a workplace I want to work in. What does a diverse, equitable and inclusive workplace feel like? What's the business presence? So I can be my whole self in work. So if you don't have a DEI workplace, imagine leaving part of yourself at home. You're not going to get the best from people. In a DEI workplace, you get the support you need, whether that's neurodiversity, disability, the carer, or as a parent, there's flexibility and support. I get regular and clear communication from the organisation. So whatever my background, my diversity, I know what's going on. I feel valued. It's such a core fundamental. If people don't feel valued, they're not going to turn up to work or give their best. I want to be in a place where I believe decisions are made fairly. Who would stay in an organisation if there wasn't that fairness? A lot of you put fairness and equity into the word cloud, recognising its importance. I believe everyone has the opportunity to progress here. Would you stay in an organisation if you didn't think you had the opportunity to progress and a fair opportunity? Policies and processes need to be clear and transparent for all in order for everyone to thrive. And finally, do you know where to go and what to do if something's wrong? That's really important in a DEI workplace. So these are fundamentals that being a more diverse, equitable and inclusive workplace unlock. They feel like fundamentals to me that no workplace wants to be without. I'll be quick on this because I know what you want to move into the action space, but the business case for maintaining DEI, it's amazing on employee engagement. So this was an HR business magazine survey done with thousands of UK businesses a couple of years ago. Those businesses that had no EDI policy or work being done, 50% of those organisations had decreasing employee engagement rates. And of all those surveyed that had significant EDI programmes, 81% of them were increasing. So it makes a big difference to employee engagement and therefore retention. We know it's really important for talent recruitment. So 73% of people in the world of recruitment say EDI policies are important. When I join or look for a new employer, they matter. And that gets even more so with younger generations. So 83% of Gen Z saying EDI matters. Matters if you're a business and you're looking for customer acquisition and loyalty. So 80% of Gen Z say brands must be doing better and be doing well in DEI. And finally, business productivity and creativity. It makes a real difference. So the stats say if you're a DEI business, people are nearly 10 times more likely to look forward to work and more than 6 times more likely to take pride in their job. So you will get more productivity from those employees in a DEI workplace. So I think most people pulled a face when I put Trump up earlier and we put him in the word cloud. It's feeling a bit uncomfortable. I went to a Be Local event, I think it was December, and Douglas Lamont, who's the chief of amazing chocolate brand, Tony's Chocolonely, who are leading for removing the slave trade from cocoa industry. He had a lovely quote. He said, often in sustainability and in DEI, it feels like the tide is washing out and that feels a bit uncomfortable. But he looked at the room and said, it's our job to pull the tide back up in the beach. So we recognise when it's a bit of a downwards trend, but we keep fighting to pull it back. And that, to me, is what the world of DEI feels like. It's not gone away. We just need to keep pulling it back up the beach. Okay, let's get into some fundamentals. So there's 3 DEI fundamentals that I thought in an hour we could talk about together. So my top fundamental is make DEI personal and meaningful. Otherwise, it just becomes buzzwords, and somebody put it in the word cloud. You're worried about getting it wrong. You don't know what to say. The language is tricky in this space, and we don't help ourselves. So we've got all these buzzwords: equity, equality, inclusivity, DEI, EDI, JEDI, belonging, DEIB, diversity, inclusion, and there's more. Which do we use? I open it to you to say, which do you want to use? So I personally choose to use equity, diversity, and inclusion. For me, equity is the piece we need to move most in the jigsaw puzzle. And that came up massively in the word cloud for quite a few people. You might want to match the industry, the sector you work on. Quite frequently, people choose DEI because it's the most common one. But just try and wrap your head around it to build that basic confidence. So what do we mean? Diversity is about acknowledging, considering, and respecting all the ways in which people differ. So it's recognizing, celebrating those differences. Equity is about fair treatment, access, opportunity, and advancement for all. So again, in the word cloud, there's lots of people talking about for everyone, for all. And then inclusion, a variety of people have a voice, power, and decision authority. Often people think inclusion is, well, I've opened the door, I've said you can come in. But if you welcome people in and you don't give them power, you don't give them voice, you haven't really let them in. When people use B, it's for belonging, and that is kind of the output you get, the feeling of when you have a more DEI workplace. People feel that they belong and they can be themselves. Justice is the J is for justice, and it's even more forward thinking. So B Lab, who's behind B Corps, use JEDI as their acronym. And that's about recognizing the massive injustices we've done through the decades and trying to compensate and rework and acknowledge some of that. So the J for justice is really advanced if an organization includes it. But I would really say, try and own it for yourself, give it your own meaning. A couple of examples of how other people have done this. So this is the equity versus equality debate. So reality is on the left. Not everyone has the same resources. Equality says, well, I'll give everyone the same amount of resource. It's given some people a boost, but it hasn't helped everyone. Why I love equity over equality is it's given disproportionate boost to the people who really need it and made a meaningful difference. Justice is, why did we have a fence in the first place? We need to remove those barriers and give everyone access. And inclusion is, let's get everyone on the pitch. So I think that's a really lovely way of describing it. There's a guy called Jamie Shields, if anyone's on LinkedIn, is a really great person to follow in this space. He's ADHD, autistic, and partially sighted, and he speaks very passionately about EDI. He says equality is everyone getting a pair of shoes. Diversity is everyone getting a different type of shoe. Equity is everyone getting a pair of shoes that fits. Acceptance is understanding we all wear different kinds of shoes. And belonging is wearing the shoes you want without fear of judgment. So anyone talks about Crocs in equity and inclusion, I like. My version of this is, I think of a dinner table. And diversity is, who am I going to invite? How am I going to have a really rich, diverse, meaningful conversation over dinner? How am I going to make sure everyone feels comfortable? Do we need a quieter end of the table? Have I thought about cutlery and space to make it really accessible? Have I thought about the food I'm going to serve for all needs, for all cultural needs, religious needs? That for me is my version of how will I make everyone feel equitable and included. So one to have a think about. What's your personal meaning of DEI? Grab your phones. This is fundamental number 2, which is about understanding identity characteristics. So if someone is walking down the street towards you, what can you see? Which out of these factors can you see and go, yep, I can call that? Go with your instincts. Don't overthink it. 3 votes in. What can you call? Five votes. I'll give it another 10 seconds. Right, what did you go for? Well done. So the ones in green are the ones that as someone's walking down the street, you can call. So all of you said clothing attire. Absolutely, you can see it. Most of you said skin colour. You can see and judge skin colour. Some of you said age. I get it. That's what we do. We put people in age buckets. Technically, you can't, though. You can't judge. We could be wrong. It's very much about perceptions. Just over half of you said gender. I get it. We do make decisions, but technically, you can't judge gender. You can't call it. Yes, mannerisms. We can see someone's mannerisms. They come down the street. A few of you said race. The reality is you can't judge someone's race just by seeing them. You can only judge their skin colour. Some of you said disability, which is a common choice, but actually so much of disability is hidden and we can't necessarily see it, call it, guess it. It's why they've moved to kind of broader, more inclusive signs on disabled loos to say you might not see someone's disability, but they might need this facility. Socioeconomic status, you might have clues that lead you to making an assumption, but you can't judge it. None of you guessed tone of voice, but you can, if someone spoke to you as they were walking down the street, you could judge their tone of voice. So technically only 4 things we can call when you see someone, or think of it as the top of the iceberg versus under the iceberg. Their tone of voice, their mannerisms, their skin colour, their clothing and attire. So it's a reminder to us that we stereotype, we make assumptions, and we need to be really careful because that can be harmful. Have you heard the phrase intersectionality? It sounds like a really big word, but it's basically saying all of those identity characteristics, we don't belong in just one bucket. We've all got multiple identities, and intersectionality is encouraging us to think about that. So it's a bit like this weaving on the right. So what you see from the flip side, from the finished, polished side, we think, oh, you know, I can see that, I can judge it. And then you flip it over, look at the messiness, look at the detail that's underneath it. We are all massively interwoven with complexity and different identity characteristics. So just something to think about, particularly if someone is in multiple underrepresented groups, because it might mean life is much harder for them. Okay, one last fundamental for you. I'm going to give you a riddle. So, and there's a content warning on this. My apologies, it's not a very nice topic. So, but it is the best riddle for demonstrating what I'm about to do. I will ask you if you get it, but if you've got it, please don't say anything because you can watch everyone else squirm as they try and work it out. Right, ready? A father and son are in a horrible car crash that kills the dad. The son is rushed to the hospital. Just as he's about to go under the knife, the surgeon says, "I can't operate. That boy is my son." Explain. Pop your hand up if you think you've got it. Kath's got it. Tracy's got it. Keris has got it. Anyone else? Probably lots of, oh, David's got it. So for the people who haven't got it, does anyone want to be brave and come off mic and tell me what they're thinking? Kath, Tracy, David, don't spoil the fun. Just as a disclaimer, I didn't get it when I first heard it. And in the studies, 85% of people don't get it. Nobody's going to go. So I've had offered up before, it's an alien. It's a priest. two gay parents, so two dads. We've gone to some interesting place. Kath, Tracy or David, do you want to put everyone out of their misery? Go on, Kath.
The surgeon's mum.
Surgeon's the mum. So how on earth can I do what I do for a day job and I still stereotyped and I didn't get that it was the mum? And I read it in a, I think, female sounding voice, which might give us a clue. We still don't get it. So the point of the riddle, thank you, Kath, is we all have unconscious bias. And what we need to do is slow down our brains. There is a reason we have unconscious bias. So our brains operate like jam jars. We like to decode stuff. We like to say, oh, that's one of those, quick, 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 pop it in that bucket. This is how our brains work. It's scary. So the human brain can receive 11 million pieces of information every second. 11 million pieces every second. We can only consciously process 40 to 50 pieces. So we're in overload and our brains are pretty amazing, but they can't manage that. It takes us 200 milliseconds to categorize. So this is a little bit of a get out of jail card to say, we're not bad people for making those assumptions about people walking down the road, for getting the riddle wrong. It's because of how our brains operate. But we do have to force ourselves to slow down. If you've ever heard of system 1 versus system 2 thinking, we spend 95% of our time in system 1, the intuitive, the fast pace, and 5% in system 2, slower. The way to kind of compensate for this is to get into your system 2 brain and catch yourself and slow down. It is building new habits. So that's a bit of why unconscious bias. So the 3 fundamentals we've talked about are owning DEI, making it meaningful and personal to you, looking into identity characteristics, understanding all that are out there and the intersectionality of it, and then being aware of unconscious bias. I'm going to deliver on my promise to you and then talk about 3 DEI tools for action. The first one is about helping us all to reflect on power and privilege. So it's taking that intersectionality, those different identity characteristics, and turning it into a wheel. So there's lots of different versions. If you just Google wheel of power, wheel of privilege, you'll see different versions. I like this one because it's colourful. You'll notice that there's different things on the list to the last list. So there's things you can bring in, you can leave out. If I walk you around the wheel, skin colour, formal education, ability, sexuality, neurodiversity, mental health, we didn't have that on the last list, body size, housing, wealth, language, we have accent bias, gender, citizenship. All those things affect the power and privilege that we have. Interestingly, different cultures would see this differently. So this version is clearly a global north one, where on body size, we've put slim as being seen culturally as more powerful. If you were in an African country, that would be inversed. And being larger would be more privileged, more powerful. So this is definitely one to take away and have a ponder on. Just ask yourself the question of, where do you sit in all these different elements? Do you sit in the middle with more power, or do you sit on the outside with less power? And often people kind of get a zigzag profile. And if, like me, you sit in the middle with quite a lot of power and privilege, what are you doing in this space to support others who might be sitting on the outside of the wheel? Second DEI tool for action. Active bystander intervention. So when you're caught in that moment, when something has happened that you go, I know this isn't right. It might be a sexist comment, a racist comment. It might be a microaggression. It might feel quite small. There's a huge sliding scale of things that can happen. But you're there, you see it, and you think, I need to hold myself to account and take action. What are your options? Because it's tough and it's quite easy to go, well, someone else will pick this up. That's not what we do. We all take ownership and accountability for change in this space. So I'm going to share with you a 5D framework for active bystander intervention. You can be direct. I would suggest if something sexist or racist or anti-LGBTQIA+, for example, is called out in a meeting or even in a social forum, I would go direct and say, I'm sorry, I'm not comfortable with that. Call it, because that is really challenging for anyone who might be on the receiving end of it in a room, or just to say, actually, that's not how we operate around here. It's unacceptable. So you can go direct, sometimes needed, but it's hard. You've got to be brave. It might be better to distract. So you might say, do you know what? Hold on, let's grab a cup of tea and just break. It will give you the opportunity to potentially take the person who's the perpetrator or the person who's been on the receiving end outside and say, are you okay? Or I see that happen. Why did that happen? And just unpick it a bit, but not necessarily in front of everyone. You might want to delay. Okay, I've seen something's not quite right here. We're going to pick it up after the meeting. You might be in a board meeting and going, I can't completely derail this, but I need to acknowledge it, that it's going to be picked up and looked at. You might want to delegate. You might not be the best person to pick up this challenge, but if you choose to delegate, please tell the person who's been on the receiving end of this that that's what you're doing, so that they don't think you've just stepped away or ignored it. The 5th D is document. This is really helpful if it's a series of microaggressions, so smaller things, but they're accumulating. Again, if you do documentation, tell the person who's on the receiving end of this that you are doing that to support them. So this is tricky, but 5 Ds for different approaches of it. If you see something going wrong, what can you do? And even just by acknowledging this framework, it's saying, hopefully empowering people to say, do something, don't ignore. And I get that it's hard, but do something. Next, allyship. It's a beautiful word, but what is it? What does it mean? What do we do? So in the words of an amazing lady who works in this space, Cherie Atchison, she describes allyship as a lifelong process of building relationships based on trust, consistency, and accountability with marginalised individuals or groups of people. So allyship scares me a bit that it can be treated as a buzzword quite lightly. But what Cherie does is say, no, this is something significant. This is a big commitment if you're going to be an ally. It is not self-defined. So we do not get to call ourselves an ally. Others tell you that you're an ally because of your actions. And it is an opportunity to grow and learn about ourselves. So you get something back. So I'm not trying to make it sound serious and scary, but it is big and it is important. And it is a significant tool. What could that mean in reality? It could mean you're there to stand behind someone, an underrepresented group or an individual. So you're encouraging them to go forth and be brave, but you're there to catch them if they need you. Could mean you stand beside someone. That could be literally, or it could be them just knowing that you are there with them on the journey. How much braver do we feel when we know someone's by our side? I find it might mean that you've got to stand in front with your shield and your sword and protect them. If it comes to that, you will be their protector. So all of those things, stand behind, stand beside, stand in front. Individuals who are being marginalised or discriminated against. So 3 tools we've talked about: active bystander intervention, the wheel of power and privilege for self-reflection, and allyship. 3 things, hopefully now jumping into your toolbox if you didn't have them already. You're nearly there. We're going to have time for Q&A. This is exciting. If you love working in this space, which I'm guessing the fact that you're all here, you might do, here are some of the reads in the DEI space I've had. I would particularly recommend, if you're interested in autism, Fern Brady's book is amazing. I tend to listen to these when I'm walking the dog. She's a stand-up comedian who talks about growing up as an undiagnosed autistic child. And because she's a stand-up comedian, it's very entertaining. If you want to read more on gender and get very angry, read Caroline Criado Perez's Invisible Women. But they're all great and all in different spaces. If anyone's got any fabulous reads in the DEI space, please pop them in the chat. I would love to see. So before the Q&A, where are you on your equity, diversity and inclusion journey now? Has anything changed? We're in the same space. Hopefully you haven't gone to the left. Otherwise I'm going to be in a lot of trouble with Bronwyn. Yeah. Someone's still in the middle. Oh, a few more moving to the right. I'll take it as a win that I've not moved anyone to the left. We've nudged some more of the team. Can anyone remember what the average was at the start? Was it 3? It's definitely a bit more in the middle ground. We've got more now on this one. Go on, Kath.
It's 3.2.
Oh, you're good. Thank you. We've nudged ourselves up in just 45 minutes. So thank you. Now, when you think about equity, diversity, inclusion, what words are springing to mind? Anything new, anything different? Level playing field. Hopeful. Think slowly. Brilliant. The riddle. It's not good when you get it wrong, is it? That stuck with me for a long time. Equity, allyship, whole self, community, campaigning, nice, thoughtful. Pause. Really nice. Thank you. You've all, oh, 5 still typing. Lots of hopefulness entering the room, supportive, belonging. Thank you, because you've all just made me feel way more hopeful. Is there anything you might do differently after today? I appreciate it's a big ask. It's been 45 minutes, but you wanted to talk about action. That was your number one today. Is there anything you can do differently? If you think you can, but you don't want to share it, just say yes. Or if you don't, tell me what you still need to unpick and unlock for action. Educate others. Lovely. If anyone would like some of the slides, maybe just pop it in the chat, and Bronwyn, I can give it to you and you can email them out to people. Speak to people as if meeting them for the first time. That's lovely. Call out if you can. Yes. Some people talk about calling in, which I really like, which feels a bit safer. You're still being brave, but calling people in. Take Trump news back to business to dispel gossip. Oh, I love that. Feeling of empowerment. Let's challenge back. Spark conversations to promote inclusion. It's lovely. Be more challenging. Nice, really brave. And we've all got different roles to play, so we'll all be different personalities, and different types of action will suit some of us more than others. Challenge more, be more mindful of my unconscious bias. Brilliant. Thank you ever so much for sharing. That's brilliant. Go forth, conquer.